Says I'm live. Hi, everybody. This is Gary Douglas, the
and
founder of Access Consciousness.
Steve Bowman and
Kitty's a Bowman.
And we are here to talk about benevolent capitalism. You know, it's like every time I see that live sign, I want to go, and welcome to Saturday Night Live. Except it sort of doesn't fit. We're talking about something way more serious than about comedy. Although, come to think of it, it's pretty humorous the way people do business.
yeah, well, a lot of people have points of view about business that make it very funny.
Yeah, but not funny, haha.
No.
Funny peculiar. Mostly it is funny peculiar. It's very interesting. So I'm here in my living room, which, you know, it's like, I feel badly that I have to live like this.
It's so amazing, beautiful.
It's looking pretty good. I like it a lot. So today we're going to talk about, with benevolent capitalism, what are we going to talk about?
Well, we were talking, we left off the last conversation with this about talking a little bit about individuals and how they can become benevolent capitalists in their own right as individuals. And I thought it would be worthwhile for us to actually explore that a little bit more about what can individuals actually be and do different so that they can become benevolent capitalists as an individual.
Okay. So it's like, for me personally, what I look at is I look at how my choices are going to contribute to other people and who the people are who can receive the contribution. Who can receive the contribution. Because contribution is what the world, the universe, nature gives us every day. It gives us this sort of like benevolent point of view about how to be with everything. And it opens that door to where we can create more as a result of it. And when you do benevolent capitalism, you're looking at how you can contribute to others as well as yourself, how you can, as an individual, create something greater. So, example from my own life, Dane just bought a lake house. Okay, so it's like, I went out and looked at it with him, and it was in foreclosure. The agent who had put in the previous offer offered them like $435,000 or something for the place. Its value should be close to $750 when it's completed, and he offered them $430,000 because he thought that that's what they should pay. So he sent this whole list of all the problems that were there, about how there was this sago palm and small children and animals, if they eat sago palm, will die. And it's like, we went to look at it, and I'm going, I don't see a sago palm. Do you even know what a sago palm is? Because sago palms are not that big. They're kind of smallish. You know, it's like, if they get to be 4 feet across, it's a huge tree. Well, there was a date palm in the back, you know, the back of the house. It was probably 6 foot tall and, you know, and 30 feet around. But that was the only palm I saw there that could even vaguely be considered something you would have to worry about. But date palms are totally edible. So what the heck was this guy doing? He also lied about a whole bunch of stuff, and it was all designed to get the cost of the house down significantly. Well, we came in and you know, I said, okay, so what's it going to cost to buy this house? And I got $470,000. I said, if you offer them $470,000, they'll say yes. And so the real estate agent went in and offered less, but eventually they settled for $469,500. You know, but it's like, that's 4 hours of work to save $500. Doesn't seem worth it to me. But that's my point of view. So it's like, I go look at the house and I see all the things that are not workable about it, and within mere minutes I figured out how to change it all. And so now, you know, Dane has a contractor who's going to go in and work on it. She wants to make sure he makes lots of money, so she's trying to cut her costs down. Everybody's contributing, what they can to make this thing work. And this is what happens when you as an individual are involved in a benevolent capitalist point of view. You want to make money, you want people to make money, but you don't have the point of view that you got to get all the money, and people want to contribute to you in ways you can't even imagine. And that's what I'm noticing here. All kinds of people are contributing in really magnificent ways to make this thing work. Whole different universe.
So choosing benevolent capitalism starts with the point of view that you choose to take about it. If you have a point of view about benevolent capitalism, then you can actually start to become and be a benevolent capitalist.
Yes, and it's like, as a benevolent capitalist, it's like, was this part of something I was buying and part of? No. But the thing is, I know that if I can contribute this, it's going to help Dane, it's going to help the contractor, it's going to help his other partner. And it's like, all of those people are people that I care about because they're people who contribute to me all the time in different ways. So why wouldn't I contribute my knowledge, my expertise, my abilities to help them make money? And that's a very different point of view.
But we were talking about benevolent capitalist and benevolent capitalism. So everyone can be benevolent capitalist. You don't even have to work in the big corporation. You don't even have to own business or anything. We were talking before about we were trying to explain what capitalist is. And we came up with capitalist is someone who actually know how to grow money.
Yeah,
they know how to grow their capital. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether you could explain a little bit that when we talk about benevolent capitalism, people seem to think that it is too large and it doesn't apply to them. But when we talk about benevolent capitalist, it is more receivable.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they think it's too large for them, then it is. They're looking for how they can, do something that's great for the whole world. My point of view is the whole world begins with you. And it's like, if you're willing to be benevolent about the way you do things and not have to go, well, I'm not going to contribute to this because I'm not getting any money, or I'm not going to do this because that's not going to work out for me, or any of the things. Sort of the best way I can describe it is, I know people who came to me at one point and they go, you know what, I'm going to look after number one. I'm not going to look after anybody else now. I'm going to look after number one. And in every case, the people who went, I'm going to look after number one, they stop being a contribution to others, and in so doing, they cut off all the receiving they could actually have. When you're willing to be a benevolent capitalism, you are capable of receiving everything that the world has to offer you. And I see that the people who function from that gift of being benevolent in their capitalism, not having to get a piece of the pie, not having to get anything, that kind of stuff, that those people create more than other people do. I have a friend who was involved, it's like her family owns a lot of land that is oil rich. And they've been in business with lots of different major oil companies who have, screwed them over the years. And so she and her brother and her sister decided they were going to start an oil company for themselves and start creating something that they could do for themselves in this particular area. So they engaged some people in the process, and the people they said they were going to do a lot of things. The thing about a benevolent capitalist is a benevolent capitalist will always do what they say. And somebody who's not a benevolent capitalist will always say what they think you want to hear, but never do what's actually necessary. And that's a huge difference in the way you function in the world. And so these people are now, like in a situation where the people who are supposedly their business partners have, they're going to have to probably go to court to get this thing changed because the people are not doing what they're supposed to do. It's like a benevolent capitalist will always know that his word is the greatest law there is. It's sort of like being true to your word is something that went out of vogue a few hundred years ago and really went out of vogue in the last 50 years. and people will say anything to get what they want or to get their share of the pie. Where a benevolent capitalist will actually do what he says he's going to do, no matter what it costs him, quote unquote. Very different point of view.
So benevolent capitalists will always, once they make commitments, they will what's the word?
They will follow through.
Will follow through.
You know, they'll do what they said they were going to do. And it's like, even if it means they make less, they will still make sure they contribute what they said they were going to contribute. Because for them, it's like, if you're a benevolent capitalist, you're actually kind to yourself. You don't look at what you can get from others as much as, what can I contribute here and how can this work for all of us?
So it's the point of view is done from contribution, not from obligation.
Yes.
And
you
that's,
know, not,
to me, seems a big
yeah.
difference here.
So when benevolent capitalists follow through, what happens if something's changed, an energy change, that follow through is not appropriate anymore?
Well, first of all, you would not look at it whether it's appropriate. You would go, okay, so is there something we can change here? Is there something we need to change here that would create more? Because the thing is, it's like, if energies change around something, if you do it from the point of view, what can I contribute that would create more, then the end result is suddenly new possibilities open up that haven't been there before.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to start looking at, what are the new possibilities here that I haven't considered? And that's where benevolent capitalism follows the energy of the moment to create something greater rather than less.
It's not, when we talk about follow through, we're not always talking about fixed point of view that we're going to do everything that we made decision to do. So we're still following the energy, but still stay put and be a contribution to make.
Yeah, still stick to what you agreed to do. Now, it's like, I know a lady who's a contractor, and she agreed to do some things for someone, and the person decided that they were angry at her, so they quit using her. So they went out and got another contractor, and that contractor took advantage of them dynamically, did not deliver what they said they were going to deliver, and in actuality covered up black mold in the lady's house so that she would have died had this former contractor that she finally got in communication with again not come in and go, do you know what this is? She says, no, it's black mold, and it's the kind of mold that will kill you if you breathe it too much. So this lady was like thrilled. I personally was like, and why did you use this other person? Everybody said she was good. I never ask whether somebody is good. I always look for what makes them good. And if someone follows through on their agreements, they will be good. If somebody has more pride in delivering a product than they do in getting their money, they will be good. And those are the people that I use in my life to create more for me and for them, always.
So it's always about possibilities instead of about money, always, when you talk to benevolent capitalists, because they're not about not caring about money either, but their priority.
I love money.
They love money,
yes.
But their priority is more about greater possibility for everyone, more so than.
And it's also a willingness to recognize that if you are actually being true to what is true for you, you will never deliver a product just to make more money. You will deliver a product to make sure that things last longer. And that's one of the things I see that's, sort of gone out of vogue in the last, 50 years, is people will deliver a crap product to get the most money without any concern as to whether it has value or not.
Can we just talk about loving money? Can you actually address that a little bit? Because there seems to be much judgment about, if you want to be benevolent, you can't love money. And it's just, even though we've been talking about this for the past 2 or 3 sessions, people still got stuck with the fact that capitalism, loving money, is still such a bad thing. They just can't see past the fact that you should not be you know, having possibility and loving money all at the same time.
Yeah, the difficulty is if you don't love money, you can't be a benevolent capitalist.
Can you expand?
Because it's like if you're looking to how much money am I going to get, how much judgment do you have to do to determine how much you're going to get? The benevolent capitalist always knows money will come, and they don't know where it's going to come from. It's like I have been contributing to several people I know who are in the oil business who've been having major friggin' problems with family or something. And it's like one lady I know, she ended up getting about $4 million because I told her to stick to her guns and to fight for what she deserved. And it's like, and nobody had ever taught this person to fight for what she deserved. They taught her to give up, give in, and let men have everything. And she went, I never would have fought for this if it hadn't been for you. Did I expect money? No. Have I been getting money? No. Do I know that it's not important? Yeah. What is important is this lady now wants to create a contribution in the world that she couldn't have done before. Now, it's not about making up for the damage she's done or anything like that. It's about recognizing how can I use my money to create a different possibility in life. When you have money, you can create a different possibility for people. It doesn't require huge amounts of money.
This whole conversation is revolving around contribution and the notion of contribution, and I just get that a lot of people really misidentify what contribution actually looks like, what it is, the point of view about contribution. In fact, we've even had a question come in from someone. I might just read it out because it goes to this issue. So Lisa sent in a question, says, what if I've contributed to people over and over and can't see anywhere that I've benefited unless you count that it felt good to be helpful and kind? How do I change my result so that I can get some benefit too?
Well, the problem is when you're looking for benefit, you're looking at not being a contribution, but putting in an exchange. If you do it from the point of view of exchange, you're not looking at the bigger picture. It's like the lady I talked about with the $4 million. It's like because of helping her get that, she now wants to go out and help other people achieve more. And so she's looking for how she can contribute to others to create more for them and to open the door to greater possibility. When you're looking for what you're going to get contributed back to you, you're looking for an exchange rate. It's actually not contribution. What is my exchange here, and what do I get in return for what I do or what I be? Now, I don't look for what I'm going to get because I'm doing or being something. I look at how it's going to change the world. Because the thing is, it's like I don't live alone in this world. I don't know about the rest of you. Probably the rest of you live alone in this world. Not me. And it's like I know that others are involved in my life. So it's like if I can be a contribution to somebody, I will. And it's amazing to me the ways in which it comes back. But the one thing I have done my whole life, since Access, was I take all the projections and expectations and separations and judgments and rejections I have of anybody, and I destroy and uncreate them all every day. So it's like if you contribute to somebody and you have projections and expectations about getting something in return, you're really not doing contribution, you're doing exchange. And if you're doing exchange, then there has to be, I give you this, you give me that. But unless you make a deal with somebody to that nature, it doesn't work.
So it sounds like one of the greatest business tools that anyone could possibly use in both their business and their life is uncreate and destroy any expectations, judgments, conclusions, and anything else you hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Well, I had a lady who called me and she was really upset because her business wasn't going the way she wanted to. I said, well, how many projections and expectations are you using to stop your business from growing? She said, well, without projections and expectations, no one would ever do anything. I go, what? What makes you think that? Well, that's the only way anything ever gets accomplished, because if you project and expect them to do it, then they have to. I went, oh, so you want to control them, you don't want to create with them. See, if you have projections and expectations, there is no true creation. There's only those projections and expectations for which you expect a return.
So people people misidentify the law of attraction of projection and expectation. You know, like they said, project out what you want and you have to expect to receive it. So they just put that expectation and projection into business world as well.
Oh yeah. Well, they do it in all areas of their life. I mean, it's like I've known more people who had relationships that weren't working well. I said, so how many projections and expectations do you have of your husband or your wife? And they go, well, I have to or they won't do anything. I go, do these people care for you? Did they get together with you because of your projections and expectations, or did they get together with you because they wanted to contribute to you? And most people have this weird point of view. The contribution is getting what you project and expect, which actually isn't true. And if you don't project and expect, the likelihood of getting more than what you would like is greater, not lesser.
So for people that are listening to this, then any time you actually want to create change in the world, any time you actually want to function and be as a benevolent capitalist, start off with, at the very least, destroying and uncreating any relationship you've got, any expectations or judgments that you've got, and from that space you can then just start to look at how you can actually contribute in ways that had never been there before. That's brilliant,
Yeah.
Gary. It's really simple and incredibly profound.
Well, it's like I remember there was a time when Chutissa came home from an access class and you asked her what she wanted to do with your relationship. And she said, I want to destroy and uncreate it every day.
Yeah.
And what happened from that?
We destroy and uncreate it every day and have for the last 10 years.
And we're still doing that with our business, other business partners, with the clients, with the staffs, and it works so well. You know, I think that's the best tools ever that, you know, create the success in our business and in our life.
Yeah, and do you guys have a better marriage or a worse marriage now?
Better and better every week, every day, every hour.
That's because when you get rid of the projections and expectations, it's actually a creative endeavor you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about 40 years of this. It's very cool.
I know. I can't believe you guys. You don't even look old enough to have been together for 40 years. Were you 10 when you got together? Jesus. I love it. So it's like, you know, it's always amazing to me because I see so few people who are willing to live on the creative edge of possibility. You guys are. And you're always looking at what else you can create. And a benevolent capitalism is always looking for what is creative, not what is a completion. Too many people are looking for the completion, the result, the necessity, the need, and those are all the things that actually kill the capacity to create.
Well, it's interesting because we had this conversation a little while back about money, and one of the things that really stood out in what we were talking about, Gary, was the quote that you gave, or the insight that you had, which is the ability to create more with money and then also to use money to create. So they work hand in hand with each other. So why would you want more money? Well, probably because you can create.
Yes. You can create so much more.
Exactly. But the other thing that's part of that is, and I think a lot of people that we come across, and we fall into this ourselves sometimes, is the notion of using money to create. It seems to get at the heart of benevolent capitalism as well. Do you want to talk a little bit more about using money to create?
Well, you use money to create a possibility. You know, it's like rather than spend money. Most people like to spend money. It's like for years I've done money classes, and everybody goes, so why would you like to have money? So I can spend more. How is that having money, and how is that creating a greater possibility in the world? Well, the more I spend, the more it helps capitalism. Really? It creates, you know, it does help the bottom line. But it's like, I mean, one of the things that was interesting, I read an article, or I can't remember where I got the information, but one of the things they were talking about is that in Japan, they actually they have this situation where you have to get rid of all your old furniture every 5 years, and they throw it away. They like literally collect it, and dump it in the ocean mostly. And so people have to get new furniture all the time. And they started paying people to have children because the younger generation didn't want to have more children. They were not interested. But they discovered in their calculations that only by getting people to have children would they have an economically viable future. So they were creating their future based on economic viability, based on how many people they had in their population. How's that creating a sustainable Earth, and how's that creating a greater possibility? Doesn't, but it does stabilize your economy. Interesting, huh?
That's an interesting one. So one of the things that comes up about this is this using money to create. What does that look like? Because it looks different for every person, and also people have so many judgments about using money and also using money to create. What, from your point of view, are the sorts of things that people can consider or be aware of so that they can actually tap into the energy of using money to create and then go out and do something with it?
Yes. Well, the thing is, for me, I look at, it's like I got started, I read this book, The Penny Capitalist, years ago. And it's like, and it was interesting because I didn't have any money. I had it's like if I had $50 at the end of a week, I was doing really well. But one of the things the guy, James J. Hester, said in his book was, spend your money on something that will be worth more in the future. So I went, how the heck do I do that? So I started going to, garage sales, boot sales, estate sales and stuff, and finding things that were worth more than what I paid for them. And over time, I began to build this portfolio, as you might call it, of things that were worth something that I had paid dollars for, pennies for, quarters for. It's like I used to go to garage sales and I could buy sterling silver earrings for 25 cents, a bracelet for 50 cents. People who had bought these things didn't think they had any value, nor would they have any future value. And I bought a lot of those 25-cent things and just sort of stashed them. And a couple of years ago, I took in the things that I bought for 25 and 50 cents, and I got over $300 for all of those things that I'd paid quarters for. I'd probably spent $50 max for all of it, and I got $300 for it. Okay, good. That works for me. But I'm always looking at is, what are the other choices I have that I haven't considered? It's like, and it's like, when you live around wealthy people, you'll find that a whole lot of them have, like I went to this one lady's house and she had these really fine pillows in her house. And I'm going, wow, those are beautiful. She said, yes, you can buy these at this place. And I went to look at the place where she bought them, and they were like $800 to $1,200 a piece for friggin' pillows. I'm going, now I got to get a better deal than that. So I started looking around, and I ended up finding pillows that were equal to hers that I paid like $200 for, because people didn't know what they were, and they didn't like them, and they didn't want them, and it wasn't going to work for them. And I went, wow, this is the way you can increase your wealth, by being aware of the difference between what people who have no awareness of it and people who spend money to create their life, and how to create wealth and the appearance of wealth without giving up all your money.
I think we had a few discussions in some of our workshop last time when we talk about ability to find the good value at the cheaper price, and people tend to ask us, oh, don't you feel guilty that you don't let people know that the thing is what the true value of
when
the
you know
items.
Something and they don't you feel guilty that you know something that they don't?
So isn't that what you're taking advantage of people by doing that? So we just love you for you to explain to people.
Like for me, it's like if the person is asking for $200 and it's worth $1,200, is it my job to educate them on what it's worth? And are they going to be satisfied with the $200? Are they going to like the $200? Is that going to make their life easier? See, most people sell inexpensively or less at the lower end because they don't actually believe that they have the right to get a higher value. I met some wonderful people in San Francisco who I bought a bunch of stuff from them, and they were stunned because I bought as much as I did. And they said, it's like, why are you buying all this stuff? I said, because you guys have such a good, you have such good stuff at such a reasonable price. And they said, oh yeah, well, we know we're middle income dealers. I go, what does that mean? They said, we don't deal with high-end people. We deal with the lower classes and the middle classes who don't spend that kind of money. I went, okay, so you've defined your market. See, it's like, and if you define your market, what are you doing? And that's capitalism, defining your market. And people will tell you have to define your market. You have to figure out who your people are and that kind of stuff. Well, these people had figured out who their people were, so they were pricing everything and creating everything based on that, not based on what it was worth, what they could get, or what was possible. Only on this is what we can sell it at, and these are our people. These are our market. So I watched these people, and it's like they sold some amazing stuff for no money because their point of view is they couldn't be bothered to research it. And the high-end value is based on researching to see what people pay for things. And the majority of people don't look at research. They decide this is what it's worth, and then they go sell it for that.
And a lot of people just happy to receive that amount. They don't want any more than that, really.
No, these people don't. These people really don't desire any more than that. From their point of view, it's like, well, that's my niche, my market, and and that's where I will create what I want to create. And they, it's like they're this couple, and they live with their son, and they're really kind, wonderful people, but they don't want any more. They have a house that they like. They're living comfortably by their point of view. They're working really hard, and they feel good about themselves for working hard. And you know what? Benevolent capitalism is supporting people like that. I support them in what they have decided is true for them. I don't try to educate them in what's true for me.
And for those people who say to us, like when you see that the item should be cost certain value, but the people try to sell to us at the lower value, why don't you just give them the money anyway? Isn't that not being benevolent? And we just thought,
well, that's actually
walk away. We could just walk away because we feel guilty, and not buying it because because people judging us of taking advantage.
I'm not going to buy it because it's too cheap.
Yeah, or just willing to give whatever people require, and just say, okay, we know that we get a really good deal, and we're very grateful with that.
Yes, but you see, it's like if you're grateful for what you get, the people are grateful for what they got.
So there's the contribution.
Yeah, and there's the contribution, because that's the most they can receive. And it's like, it's like I'd love to say you could give people more than they're willing to receive, but that does not seem to occur. I have never met somebody who was comfortable when I paid them more than something was worth. From their point of view, not mine. My point of view is not relevant to them because they've decided what is so for them. And benevolent capitalism is recognizing you can increase your capital by the people who don't see value to what you see as valuable.
So if we come back to this conversation we had earlier about contribution versus exchange, from an exchange point of view, you set up the limitations, you set up the judgment of what something is worth and how you're going to deal with it and exactly what it's going to look like, which is a bit like a contract. And if it doesn't meet that, then it's a no-go and there's no other possibility. Whereas a contribution would be, okay, so what's going to work?
Exactly.
Someone wrote in a comment, Gary, Zipporah has said, so exchange only works when there is some sort of contract or agreement about it.
That's correct. When you have a contract or an agreement, and it's like, and I've tried forever to get people to, I did that telecall on deal and deliver. Yeah. And you guys have seen it and or heard it, and it's like it really defines how people see things. And it came up because a friend of mine had made a deal with somebody to do a job for him, and he said, well, how much is this going to cost? And the woman said, well, approximately this. And then she called him and, well, can we exchange this? And he went, okay, fine. And then when it came closer to being done, he said, okay, so how much do I owe you? And she said, $4,500. And he went, wait a minute. I already gave you $1,250, and it was supposed to be $2,500 in the first place. How did it get to be $4,500? He said, well, that's just the way it is. And he kept trying to tell her, but you did such a good job and blah, blah, blah. And I said, don't defend it. Don't deal with it. You got to you didn't say exactly what is this going to cost. Exactly how is this going to work. Because if you do exactly, then the person has to make themselves be exact about what they contribute and how they function. And most people don't do that. They try to function from, oh, it's going to be about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a minute. How does that equal I'm being aware? And it doesn't.
That is an amazing call, and I think everyone who's interested in becoming benevolent capitalist and dealing in business world should really listen to it. I think they still can download that and purchase that if you go on the Access Consciousness website, and I think it's called Deal and Deliver. Call. Fantastic. And another call that I have been listening over and over and over again since I've been in the plane a lot in the last 4 weeks is the one to do with phenomenons of money. That is just so amazing. That's actually explained everything to do with benevolent capitalism to me.
Yeah, it does. Because it's like the phenomenons of money is how you use money to create. And that's what you asked about earlier. How do you use money to create, and what do you create by the use of your money? And it's like with the conversation about these people who want to sell their product for less, it's like they're so grateful that I will buy for the figures they offer that they usually give me deals beyond that. And I was like, and I'm not asking for it. I'm not asking to reduce their prices. I'm asking, can I please buy more from you? Because what you have to offer is of such good value, I will gladly pay you what you ask.
And you mentioned also the phenomenon is about the ability to create a phenomenal change with all things. Could you talk a little bit more about that, and how would that apply to benevolent capitalism and benevolent capitalist?
Well, it's like if you're looking to do what will create a phenomenal result in the world instead of an ordinary, result. I mean, like for instance, the earth needs help. People create, they create a lot of energy to save the planet, to recycle, to do all these things. I know here in Texas, I was recycling like crazy. I had it all designed out, only to discover that my maids were putting it all in the same trash, and the trash was being taken away and not to recycle. But, okay, I think I need to get a different point of view. And it was just amusing to me to see that other people don't have the same point of view I have. And when you begin to realize other people don't have the same point of view, then you get to look at, okay, so if I was actually looking at what their point of view is, how could I create a phenomenal change here? And I looked at it and I went, okay, can I create a phenomenal change here with the recycling process? And I got to know. And it was so interesting to find out later that even though they're doing recycling in my neighborhood, it all goes into the same trash truck. I'm going, what? So, it's like, how do you create from a different place is where you have to look. How can I create from something different?
So what is a phenomenal change? What does that mean to you?
A phenomenal change to me is if you realize that we are doing destructive, if we are creating from a destructive place and not from a generative or creative place, The phenomenons would be to create a phenomenal change, would to be to get people to see how to create from a different place, which is why we're doing this call. Because for me, I want to see people recognizing they can create from a totally different place than what they think. And it's, you know, it's like, and if we can do that, that's a phenomenal change in the world. No, I think we...
People don't seem to get what it means to create from different places, though. Could we expand a little bit on that? Like, they just don't seem to actually know the meaning of what that looks like.
Well, it's like there was a lady in one of my classes, and she was going, yeah, my husband is really annoying. I said, so what are you creating with the point of view, my husband is really annoying? But he is. I go, that's a fixed point of view. How is he going to change and be less annoying if you have that point of view? And she goes, what do you mean? I'm supposed to give up my point of view? No, but you're supposed to look at what you create by taking that point of view. You take that fixed point of view that your husband is annoying, the poor guy can't deliver anything but annoyance. And he has to be annoying because that's what you've decided he is. What if you didn't decide he was annoying? What if you decided he was a really interesting person? But he's not interesting, he's boring. I said, okay, that's not a fixed point of view, is it? And she goes, well, he is. What makes him boring? Because he doesn't do what I want him to do. I went, oh, so he's fighting your fixed point of view by fighting with his fixed point of view. How are you going to create a relationship here? She goes, okay, I get it. What do I have to change? I said, go home and sex him. Goes, I'm not going to do that. He should come after me. I said, do you realize that when you're irritated all the time, that's not an invitation to sex? If you were grateful for him and happy, he might want to have more sex. She called me a couple of weeks later and she goes, okay, I owe you $1. Because one of the rules in Access is if you think I'm full of shit and you find out I'm not, you have to pay me $1. And she said, I'll pay you the next time I see you. She said, I decided to have sex with him. It changed everything in our relationship. And this is the first time in 10 years we've started to have a good time. Yeah. Your point of view creates your reality, not reality creates your point of view. One of the greatest phenomenons in the world is the ability to change your point of view. And most people won't do it. They try to make themselves right.
And create from a different place doesn't mean there's a correct place, the right place, or the perfect place. It's just being in the question about what else is possible.
Yeah, and being willing to and being willing to see that if I was creating a different point of view, what would get created here? You know, it's like if I had a different point of view about what I'm creating, what could actually come into existence that I'm not acknowledging?
So here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
We've had a number of people talk to us and also to you about the notion of benevolent capitalism and how it's all about saving the planet and it's all about, you know, changing the way changing the way all those nasty corporates are destroying the planet and so on. Can you talk a little bit about something that we touched on briefly yesterday about the difference between the point of view of saving the planet and turning the planet loose?
Yeah, because it's like what people want to do is they want to keep the planet the same, but keep it from dying, rather than going, okay, so what could we do or be different that would create a different possibility here? I mean, one of the most amazing things is if you look at the geological transformation of planet Earth, over the last 2,000 years, there's been less geological change than any other time in the history of mankind. Who's been the dominant species the last 2,000 years? Mankind. So are we holding the Earth captive to our desire for nothing to change rather than turning it loose and letting it change that pushes us to change with it?
So what if the purpose of business was to help turn the planet loose?
I think it should be. And that's if you're being a benevolent capitalist, you want to see how you can contribute not only to your clientele, your customers, and the people that work with you, but how you can also contribute to the planet and allowing it to become a sustainable reality of its own. And one of the things I always ask people to look is, if you ask the question, if I create this, what's the world going to be like in 50 years, 100 years, 500 years? And it's like you look at that and you just go, does not compute. Why does it not compute? Because it's not predictable by a standard of current time. You have to be willing to be aware of the changes that can occur when you're no longer trying to limit yourself by the conditions of right now.
Okay. That should be etched on the boardroom of every corporation.
It should be. And it should be etched on the head of every person that exists. Because it's like, if you looked at, okay, it's like, if I create, a special brand of popcorn, what's that going to be like? Who knows? What's the world going to be like if I create this in 50 years? Oh, energetically, it looks better. 100 years. Well, that even looks better. 500 years? Really? I could do something today that would create a result 500 years from now? And actually, all of us can. And it's like, if we were really willing to be the phenomenons of money, if we were really willing to be the benevolent capitalists we are, then everything we chose would be to create something greater, and the world would be an amazing place if we all were willing to be that great, that amazing, and that phenomenal.
Well, those are the questions that are crucial for us if we want to create sustainable future and sustainable reality. Is, if I choose this, what will the world be like in 5 years, 15 years, 25 years, 500 years? It's a crucial question.
It is a crucial question, and most people don't. They look at what will my bottom line be? And the problem is, even the people who talk about conscious capitalism. Conscious capitalism is the idea you have to realize that everything's interrelated, and so they try to make up for the damage they've done by doing something good to compensate for where they increase their bottom line, as though it's wrong to increase your bottom line.
And still doing some of that damage.
Yeah, and still doing some of the damage. But if you're willing to be a benevolent capitalist, you look at it and go, okay, so how can I minimize the damage? How can I generate and create something that will actually create more of a sustainable possibility in future? And what could actually occur if I wasn't willing to look at it for how do I increase what I get right now?
And if people are willing to do that, particularly if they're in the business area, they can't help but be, and we'll use some business terms here, innovative, creating a difference, looking at creating different markets, because that all hinges from those points of view that you're talking about.
Yeah, and limiting their risk. That limits risk dynamically. And people don't seem to get that.
Is it too much to ask people to totally do no damage instead of just minimalize damage?
It's like, to do no damage would be a greater result, but minimalize damage is the best I can come up with that people can accept at this point in time.
The start. Yeah.
So
it's a start.
What else can we be or do different to inspire people to totally do no damage?
Well, I don't really have a good answer to that question, because from my point of view, people have determined and decided that without destruction there is no creation. It's like, you look at contractors, okay? It's like they'll have this wooded lot and they'll come in and they'll bulldoze all the plants so they can build a house. Because that way nothing is in their way. They don't see how those trees and the contribution those plants and animals can be to their house. They see it as a detriment to completing it quickly, more efficiently, less cost. And it's like, if you increase your cost by saving a tree, what does it create in the world?
So that would be the difference between like a contractor and an architect. An architect would likely look to see what contribution can these things be, whereas a contractor would be someone who would say, well, how can I do this in the quickest, easiest way?
I wish that were true.
Yeah, exactly. Architect, not all like benevolent.
Yes, like But someone who's a benevolent capitalist will look at it and go, okay, so how can I save these trees and what is actually possible here?
Yeah.
You know, it's like when, when we bought this house, it's like there were decks covering up all the trees. And it's like, and the trees were kind of shaky looking. They didn't look that great. But there were decks covering everything, and nothing really was much growing on the land. So we took out the decks, we planted lawn, and we fertilized the lawn, but there had been so little fertilization added to it because they, took the decks and blew all the leaves off, and leaves are a source of mulch for, fertilizing trees. So they'd taken all the fertilizer out of the soil for 30 years by just letting the rainwater run everything off. So the trees weren't looking good. But so we started fertilizing the lawn. The lawn is dying and looks like crap. The trees look great. They're just absorbing all the nutrients they can as rapidly as possible, because for 30 years they've been not denied any nutrients.
Mm.
And so it's like I talked to the landscaper the other day, and I said, I want you to fertilize the lawn once a week, because look at these trees. Okay, these trees have grown a bigger shade, a bigger canopy in the year we've been here than they had when we moved here. Look at the bark on the tree. The bark on the tree has a vibrancy to it. The trees look and feel alive to a degree they didn't when we moved in here. They were surviving, but they weren't thriving. If we took everything to create thrival out of it instead of survival, it's like literally the possibility of what could be created would be extraordinary and phenomenal.
This leads us on to another one, Gary, where someone sent in another question. It's quite a long one, so I might summarize part of it. But Sheila sent in a question that says, can we please discuss what initiates the planet choosing to generate and create itself? What would be examples that institute the planet instituting, generating, and creating for itself? Since this isn't a preservation effort necessarily, is there still a place for land or wildlife conservation on large scale? Or is that ridification of the future that maintains problems of the past? Is there an interaction that you see, Gary, between us, the planet, and benevolent capitalism, she writes, beyond our choice of how we use physical resources, including employees? And what might that look like energetically or with choices for benevolent capitalism?
Well, my answer to that would be, how much joy can you create? When you have a sense of joy, the land has a sense of joy. When, it's like with conservation, people are trying to make sure we don't destroy anymore. What is the fixed point of view they're functioning from? That we're destroying the land. Does that actually invite the land to generate itself? When you have the sense of joy, of possibility, when you have the sense of laughter, it's like studies show that if you laugh with plants, they will grow dynamically. If you yell at them, they will shrink and diminish. What do you see out in the world? How many people do you see doing happiness? How many people do you see doing anger? Way more people doing anger. And so that actually is just more destructive than all the terrible things we do to the planet, is that anger that we deliver at it on a daily basis. And we're disappointed, we're upset, we don't like it. I mean, it's like where I live, we're on a bayou, okay? So the land that we have, the bayou had been cut back and made to look like a lawn. So we have an acre in the bayou that looks like a lawn. And I had the landscaper plant 3,000 bulbs in there so that it will be full of flowers in the spring. She said, that's weird. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you
But
got it.
the sense of joy that the land has, the sense of vibrancy, has increased 70% since we moved here. It's like the plants are growing so, for lack of a better word, voraciously. They are like filling up spaces, and I'm having to have things cut back so it doesn't just like stop being able to be seen. And literally everything around us is having a sense of joy. Now, the next door neighbors hate the bayou. So all they've got is this patch of woods that's filled with debris that they think that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, where does water flow easily? Where there's no obstacle.
True.
So they keep, it's like every time there's a high water moment, it's like their land fills with more debris. We get one giant branch, and that's about it.
And some very well-watered bulbs.
Exactly. Very well-watered bulbs.
So, Gary, the sense of joy can change and transform everything. So, if we even function from the sense of joy, it can transform our bank account, it can transform our business, it can transform our relationship and the planet at the same time. So, just one key tool can do. Yeah.
Just functioning from what can I do that would be joyful today can change everything.
And is that sense of joy seems inextricably wound up in the contribution that we were talking about earlier?
Well, yeah, because it is a contribution. It's like when you're joyful, what kind of contribution are you to others? Okay, you have a daughter, okay? Is she ever depressed?
She used to when she was younger, teenage.
Yes, when she was doing teenagers, she was doing serious, depressed, gothic kind of thing, right?
But she's so much happier.
There's no angst in her life.
No.
Check, So I'll keep looking here. And I just want to say, please a gift that is all others. When you sense joy in everything you choose to share everybody around you, what would that be worth to you if you knew that that was the way to live your life from the joy of it? So, it's like, I'm sorry that we lost Steve and Chutissa, and it's like, but thank you all for watching us, and please know that we are here doing this because what we'd like to see is a world that was based on the joy of what can be created, not based on the profit that we can take out of everything, but how we can contribute with our joy, with our possibility, and with a different reality so that everything gets better for all of us, and that we all begin to realize that we are the gift that the earth has that we're not opening. What if you unwrapped you and opened you and became the joy that created more for the earth and created more in life in general? You have no idea what a gift you are. I do, and I'm grateful for you. And I thank you all for listening, for watching, and for being involved here. So, I think you're back. Yay! I've been trying to conclude everything by telling everybody to be happy and shut up.
I totally missed everything you said.
But I'm very happy.
I'm joyful. I totally missed everything you said the last 5 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah.
It
was only 3.
It's all about me, and I miss all of that.
Yes, well, I was trying to tell people you're happy, and that's the mystery that creates a different world. When you're happy, and there's no reason for it other than you just recognize that joy is a gift, joy is a possibility, and why aren't we choosing that instead of this other crap everybody does? I mean, it's like the people I've met who actually do business from a sense of joy and possibility, they create so much. And when they do depression, they lock everything up and everything stops. It's weird.
Well, Richard Branson actually doing things from the sense of joy, doesn't he? You can
Yeah,
tell that he's very joyful in his business and fun. I mean, he's so not conforming to anything.
yeah, and
But
that's what we all got to get, is that place where we can all function from that. And it's like, and I think he may conform in a couple of places, but it's not primarily his way of functioning. And he creates more possibility and more business than most of the people on the planet. It's very cool. And I love the fact that he has Virgin America, because it's like there are no virgins in America. They got sacrificed. Just my point of view. Thank you, guys. You're awesome. I adore you. It's like having conversation with you is always a greater gift and a greater possibility. And my gratitude for the fact that you never give up, you never give in, and you keep on trucking.
And I'm joyful.
Yeah.
I know.
Contribution and joy. Very cool. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.